That's another women's wrestler out on the shelf for 2 years because Jessie McKay is the next woman in wrestling to be pregnant. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. We've got another pregnancy to announce, and that seems to be the go-to thing in wrestling these days. It's pregnancies here, it's pregnancies there, it's pregnancies every single where. So yeah, in around 2022, 2023, literally all the women in wrestling are just getting pregnant, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I remember a few years ago, the go-to thing was an OnlyFans. It was like everyone was joining OnlyFans. It was like Selena Vega, Toni Storm, a bunch of other women that I just can't really think off the top of my head right now. I'm pretty sure Saraya had one, Paige, I think she had one. The point is, back then, a few years ago, a lot of women were getting OnlyFans, and now a lot of the women are getting pregnant. So maybe females in wrestling are a bit like sheep. I do not know. But anyway, the reason I made this video is because I want to hammer home what I talk about quite a lot on this channel, and that is that women and men in the wrestling business are not the same. But before I actually go on with this, one point I did want to make is I've always had this opinion, and I know it's not a popular opinion. I know a lot of people don't agree with this opinion, and I'm definitely in the minority here, but I always thought that Jessie McKay was a lot hotter than Peyton Royce. Well, maybe not a lot hotter, I take that back, but I always thought out of the two, Jessie McKay was the hotter one. I always believed that, and for some reason it was like, I would say like 90%, probably 80% around that region, I actually prefer Peyton Royce. So guys, let me know down in the comments, who do you think's hotter out of the two iconics? Do you think it's Jessica McKay, or do you think it's Peyton Royce? Anyway guys, back to the video. Yeah, when a woman gets pregnant, I mean, that is pretty much her out for 2 years. You're looking at 9 months, she carries the baby, and then you've got, like, probably, you know, a year after that where she's going to sit out, not be wrestling, staying at home with the child. So, I mean, when a woman is pregnant, all in all, you're probably looking at almost 2 years before she comes back into the wrestling business. And I say it all the time on this channel, look, men and women are not the same, and I know in wrestling now they want to push them the same, they want to pretend they're equal, that they're the same, but they're not. We're just not. We are different. It's different. Genders are different. It's as simple as that. And I don't know if it's some sort of weird gender politics here that everyone has to be the same and we're pretending we're all the same, but we're not. Men are different from women. A man being into his 30s in the wrestling business is not the same thing as a woman. And I speak all the time about how back in the day, you look at wrestling, you look at WWE, the big company, let's take that. You think of all the top female stars in past eras, what do they have in common? They were all under 30. They were all like mid-20s. That's when they were in their prime. That's when they were in their hottest. And that is when they actually wanted to focus and work. Now, we can deny it if we want, but when women get older, let's be honest, just like men. But, you know, you can definitely argue that some men kind of get better with looks, and I think women are attracted to older men, whereas it's not really the same for men. It's like, you look at Kelly when she's like, you know, in her like early 20s or whatever, no one's going to think that she's hotter at 52. No one's going to think that. But you look at a lot of guys, and some people might think that guys are hotter when they're in their 50s. People like, I don't know, Brad Pitt, Keanu Reeves. Women seem to be attracted to older men, but no one really looks at a woman and goes, like, you know, no one in 20 years is going to think that Margot Robbie is hotter in 20 years than she is now. No one's going to think that unless they're lying. So yeah, again, when it comes to women in wrestling, when they're younger, like I said, they're more willing to work, they're more willing to travel, it's a hectic schedule, they're more willing to do it because they're younger. But it's like I said, they're like their life, they need to get their life in order quicker than men. You know, men concentrate on making money, men are willing to put in longer hours. Women tend to not want that. Women tend to want to have a more luxury lifestyle where they don't work as hard and they want to settle down quicker. And like when women know that when they get into like 35, 40, you know, their chances of having successful pregnancies go down. So, I mean, it's been known for a long time that like a woman needs to kind of get women need to get their acting life. They need to get it sorted like a lot quicker than men do. You know, like a woman, by the time she's like into her 30s, realistically, she wants to be married. She wants to be settled down, and she probably wants to have a couple of kids, whereas men aren't really like that. And like I said, you look at the past in wrestling, all the successful women were in their early mid-20s. Let's go back to Sunny. When Sunny was in WWE, I think she was like 23 when she got super popular in like 96, 97, I believe she was 23. Then you had Sable when she came onto the scene with Mark Mero, and she like overtook Mark Mero in terms of popularity, like instantly. Sable was like a mega star. You could actually argue that in terms of pops, Sable, I think in like 98, around that time, she was like maybe second only to Austin. And I'm actually not taking the piss. When Sable came out, the place went wild. She was in her mid-20s. When you got Lita and Trish bursting onto the spot, they were in their early 20s, and then they both retired from wrestling at 31. They'd done what they wanted to do at wrestling, and yeah, they took different life paths. I mean, Lita wanted to concentrate on other things. Trish wanted to settle down, have a family, concentrate on that aspect. But the point I'm trying to make here is that when most women get into their 30s, they don't want to work this mad lifestyle that is WWE. They want to focus more on family. They want to take time off. And we can look at Charlotte Flair. She's not got any kids, but she takes regular time off. She doesn't commit now to this schedule anymore. She'll turn up, she'll add another title to her reign, she'll drop the belt, and then she'll leave for 6 months. It's as simple as that. You look at Becky Lynch. She was getting the rocket behind her in her push. She was getting pushed to the moon. Arguably, around 18, early 19 or whatever, before she left, Becky Lynch was arguably getting pushed the most out of anybody, male or female, in WWE, and she decided she wanted to leave. She went and had a kid. She went and had a child. At the peak of her popularity, she decided it was more important to have a family than to be number one in the company. And since she's come back, she's just got nowhere near the momentum that she had when she left. So again, I mean, that's pretty much it. The point I'm trying to make in this video is, like, women, their careers don't last as long as men. And we see now, it's just strange that in WWE now, you look at the women's division, and they're all old. It just doesn't make any sense. Personally, I would scrap the entire women's division in terms of, like, who are the main eventers right now. I think you need to build for the future. I think you need to start focusing more on NXT. There's no point putting people down on, like, Mandy Rose, for example. Why was she on NXT at 31 years old? She should have been promoted to the main roster. She probably should never went to NXT. It's like, what are they waiting for? At 31, they've got her on the development show. Lita and Trish retired at 31, so I just don't understand what they're doing. And, like, you look at the main women in WWE, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Becky, they're all approaching 40, man. They're all nearly 40 years old. And you got Alexa Bliss out now, pregnant, Carmella, you know, when they come back, they're another 2 years older. It's like, I just don't see the value in pushing a woman that is in her 30s. I mean, can they have a job at WWE? Of course. Can they play a role? Yeah, but I certainly wouldn't be giving them a big push. I certainly wouldn't have them main eventing. That is for sure. For me, yeah, and I get it. I just think, look at Batista. He came into the business when he was older, and that was fine. Like I said, he's a dude. But with these women, it's like, they do peak a lot earlier than men. You know, a woman's prime is going to be a lot earlier than men, because what we value in a woman's prime and what we value in a man's prime is totally different. You know, like, people, like, with men, it's like their look sometimes can improve when they're older. They can, like, learn more through ability. They can improve. Like, Batista, in a space of, like, let's say, I think when Batista first came in, you fast forward like 5 years, and you could argue, you know, he was better than he was, but it's not the same when women come in. Like, normally they get 5 years later and they're not better, you know, they're stale because they're 5 years older. So anyway, that's just a quick thing I wanted to make. Jessica McKay is pregnant, and by no means am I saying don't get pregnant. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I think WWE kind of need to change it up. And if it was me, I mean, look at Paul Heyman. That time Paul Heyman said he was going to take over TNA. He said he would have got rid of everyone over 35. And that was including guys. So if you want to get rid of a guy that's 36, then there's no way you can have a woman that's like 31. You know, it just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, guys, that's my opinion. Lots of people are getting pregnant. I wonder who will be next. And fair play to all these lucky men that are getting all these hot women pregnant. But I will retract that statement if Shayna Baszler gets pregnant. God help the poor man that has to sleep with her. Anyway, guys, that's it. Catch you in the next one. Until then, Fog Wrestling. Peace out.